Hi, my name is Az Lehman. I am the Schools and Colleges Liaison Officer for British Esports Association. I work with my colleague Morgan Ashurst, who's our marketing manager, on our Women in Esports campaign. So we started this in late 2019, where we primarily worked on different content and how we can improve diversity and inclusivity in the esports space. We recently upped the ante and created a committee for the Women in Esports initiative, which allowed us to move forward with more opinions from all across the esports industry. There's 13 members, and we hope to push this even further in the coming months. One of the great ways we like to promote and showcase amazing female talent in the esports industry is through our content. And so for that reason today, we're here today with Davies, who's a freelance stage manager and has also worked with many big event companies such as epic.LAN. And we are here to introduce her and learn more about her role as a stage manager. So hi Ray, it's great to meet you. So for those who don't know a bit about you, just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your role.
My name's Ray Davies. I am the current stage manager for epic.LAN and I have been for the past year. I also work for eNash as a Rocket League manager, team manager.
Perfect. So it's something quite recently you've done, as you said, it's just in the past year. What sort of roles have you been into before this?
Before that, I had worked on anime conventions because I needed the experience of conventions to create the base level, because then I can work off it instead of jumping straight into esports and being like, what am I doing? So when I was finishing my bachelor's degree for theatre technology and design, because at that time there wasn't esports degrees yet. So I did that, and while I was studying there, I worked for an anime convention that was doing different cities in the UK, which I had to drive to. And I worked on the VG section, the video game section, so that was all basically setting up all that stuff. So that's how I got that experience, and also stage managing one of their venues in Manchester when they did it at the Bread Shed. I had to work in that space for the weekend, and that was my first experience, you could say, of actually a convention that was close to esports, but that was before I had the courage to jump into it.
Okay, so is it something esports related that you've always wanted to do? So as you said, you tried to build up the experience. Was esports industry your end goal always, or was it something that you've just decided to merge into throughout doing your stage managing experience?
At the very beginning, I started doing technical work and stage management and lighting in high school for theatre productions, because at that time, especially when I was in high school, esports events were not a thing. So I didn't know that could be a thing. So then I went forward into theatre because I didn't know. I thought, oh, this is close, I'm going to get to my dream job, I'll just do it in theatre. And as I went forward and started going to Insomnia and stuff like that, and watching how they do the pub quiz and seeing oh wait, there's a guy doing my job at Insomnia doing an esports event. Oh my god, I could do that. I didn't realise I could do that. So that's when, about my first year at LIPA, I decided that I would look into esports and see if that's actually a thing that I could do. It was very overwhelming to kind of look into, because it was very much people that have worked in it for years, and I was like, oh god, how do I get into that, especially when I've just got a theatre degree. So I think when I hit second year, I did my work placement at Epic, and that's when I realised oh my god, I can put my favourite thing in the world with my job and do it together. And I was like, oh god, that's incredible, let's do that. So that's when that started. So I finished my bachelor's degree in theatre, and actually I've been accepted to do my master's degree in business management for esports at the end of this year, because I'm scared to go into esports for EGX and stuff like that without having enough education behind me to be look, I've done it, I can be here. That's what I'm most scared of.
Okay, so would you say that your experience that you've gained through your different placements, the work experience, and many of those I presume were freelance, do you feel that was the right way forward for yourself, or was that what the advice was told to you by others, that was the best route into the industry?
At that point, I hadn't really met anyone yet, because it's before when I did the anime conventions, it was before I'd met anyone at Epic. Mm-hmm. I was speaking to the odd person on Twitter that had works for DreamHack and stuff like that, but no one really gave me the stepping stones to it, but because I guess there really wasn't at that time. So I kind of brought it upon myself to try and do as many things as I could to try and have that foundation that I can work upon, but most of them were voluntary, because I don't know that half that the anime conventions themselves are voluntary, and so is epic.LAN. Because it's like a community event. It's not like Insomnia. So most of my stuff is voluntary. So no, the only experience I've been given by other people is to try and aim for paid roles, which are not as easy as it seems, because it's not just like, here's a job for stage manager. It's like productive assistant designer, it's sort of crazy. So no one really gave me stepping stones. It's me trying to figure my way in, like trying to figure it, like, oh, if I do a master's, then they'll have to let me in and I'll meet people and stuff like that. The only biggest advice I've been given was network. So I've been annoying so many people on Twitter. They probably have, because I've been annoying them, like, what can I do? I want to be with you. What do I do? So that was basically it, annoying people on Twitter.
Yeah. What advice would you give yourself looking backwards? So if you went back in time and you'd tell yourself when you were just starting out, what advice would you say to yourself, or to other women who want to get involved in similar sort of industry?
I've heard that people, when I asked for experience and like where I should start, loads of people did say Epic, so that's something I would carry on doing, because I very much enjoy working at Epic, and it's the most amazing place to learn like your foundations, because no one judges you for it at all. So I probably would say, like, to me back then, apply for Epic sooner. But I knew it was a thing, because when I went to Insomnia, everyone said, I'll see you at Epic, and I just, never put two and two together that I could do that. So I would probably say, like, throw yourself in a bit more, because I was like looking at Insomnia going, oh my god, like I would love to work for Insomnia, but like they have voluntary programs, so why didn't I do that? And why have I still not done that? So it probably would be in first year, being like, now you've had like your experience at uni, and you know what you're doing, throw yourself in more, and maybe try and look for paid work earlier on.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Like, that's the same thing that I was telling myself when I just started out. Is just try it and give it a go. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know anything about being a stage manager. I've been to epic.LAN, I've been to Insomnia from the player's perspective and from the bring your own computer bit, but I don't know anything about production. So I think many other people will be in a similar sort of situation who are watching this. So would you be able to walk us through sort of a day in the life of being a stage manager, like how the event would run, if there was any issues, just generally like a walking through your sort of day?
Okay. Obviously I started being a stage manager doing a course that does lighting and sound and like other things to do with that. And I do advise doing that before doing like just a stage manager job, is to like do courses that involve other disciplines, because when you're being a stage manager like at Epic and there's like no one's helping with lighting, that you can jump yourself in and you know what to do. So it's better to have like an all-rounded production role. Setting up and packing down is a very big big thing, especially with such a little team that we have. So starting up, we have to get all the cables out of the boxes, and that is my worst nightmare, because none of them are cable wrapped nicely, and I'm one of them people that likes to do it properly. So then we have to do all that, and then another company comes in. They actually build the stage for us, which is not something I'm used to. I'm used to doing it myself. They build that and they build the wrap, so I help with all that. And at the beginning, there's not really much I can do because there's no stage. And then I set up like the big TVs at the front, which is very heavy, and I'm quite small, so that's quite fun. And then setting up the commentator desk, and that is the bane of my life, because they have to the wrap on the outside has to be pushed in a certain way, and it never goes right, and I hate it. That's like my main thing, of putting 10 PCs on the stage and plug them all in, make sure their Steam's working, make sure the games are downloaded. But when it's just you on the stage team, like it's just me, I'm putting these massive PCs, trying to make them look all pretty and coming back. Like there's probably like a time lapse of me just going backwards and forwards from the stage, because I'm like making sure they all look perfect on stage from the middle. And then we start the event, so that's when I start setting up my desk with my laptop and all my bits and pieces, and get the comms on, the headset, so we can speak to each other, make sure all of the things work, and half the time they don't. So then we spend like 2 hours before like the opening ceremony going, this isn't working, what do we do? And then what else? Well, I've wrote it down in a really weird way. I've written it down in such a strange way that I'm not doing it coherently. So then we sort out all the major issues that we have, which tends to be like the sound's not going through to the out bit yet. That's fun. My event starts, I put running around after players. That is my life. So when we do most of our little tournaments within our little bubble of like people, so like we have like our hosts that basically sit backstage with us. So that's really simple. Just go, hey, Reaper Steve, like get on stage, like you're next, and that's fine.
That's great. No, that's really detailed, and I think it shows that from like my perspective of I've gone from a player and from a participant, but you don't know anything that goes on behind the scenes. So from our perspective, everything seems absolutely normal, running fine, no issues at all. But like you say, it's a lot about communication. It's lots of different elements coming together, and it's also about like the scheduling and can be a little bit manic at times, as you said. So I guess would you say the main issues then that you've found throughout being like a stage manager, not only for theatre but working with epic.LAN, is the scheduling, or would you say it's kind of the people management sort of element to it?
It's both, because we do have scheduled breaks and stuff like that, but sometimes when scheduling goes wrong, we miss our breaks and we can't leave, because say if like Hayden, who does like lighting and sound, if he goes for his break, say at 4, but then we've been pushed back by a segment, he misses his break and he can't go for his break because there's the next segment coming on, and if we don't have Hayden, we don't have sound. So stuff like that happens. So when it comes with scheduling, it's really, really hard, and I feel sorry for John Winkle, who runs Epic, to make the schedules, and Joe, who makes the stage schedules, because it's like really hard to predict what's going to happen, because it just changes each time. By the end of the day, you're sitting there with a Jaeger bomb going, we're fine. And it's just, it's really hard to predict scheduling. I don't think there is really a way to fix it, because it's live event, it's gonna happen. But when I see Insomnia, they're perfect, and I'm just like, oh, I hate you. Like they're just perfect and flawless. And then there's us, like, I wish the blacks around the stage were see-through. You'd see me like doing laps, like running, trying to sort things out and trying to sort the schedule out, and running to the broadcasters being like, 5 minutes, I need to get like a little screen that I can write on, being like 5 minutes. But there's no real way to fix it. It's just part of the job, and it's kind of fun half the time. It's kind of funny. At the end of the day, you laugh about it, but I've cried so many times because I'm thinking it's going to look horrendous. Then you go ask someone having a beer, going, did it look okay? And they're like, there was an issue? And I'm like, oh, okay. Unless the special effect audio messes up, which it has done quite a few times, and it's just royally embarrassing, because you take it personally, you take it like, oh god, I'm going to look like such an idiot, but it's not like anyone's fault. That's like the main thing. It's just, there's no way of fixing scheduling. It's just how it is, and it's just kind of funny sometimes, but there's no way to fix it. It's just going to happen.
Okay. What would you say about the experience that you've gained then for epic.LAN? Would you say it's wanted you to carry on in the esports industry? Has it made you feel slightly differently towards it? Because it's obviously a little bit different to the theatre background that you're used to. But has it inspired you to carry on going and gain more like paid roles, like you mentioned, and stick in the industry itself?
It's really, it's one of them things that I'm only like, 20 something and stuff like that, and I've got many more experiences to go, but Epic had to be one of my favourites. Like, as much as I went to Insomnia with my team, and I had great like LAN blues and stuff like that with my team, but with Epic, the first time I went, that drive, I was horrendous, like chain smoking monsters, because I had the biggest anxiety attack, because it was like my first esports job. And everyone knew about me, and everyone knew that I had a degree, and that was horrible looming over me, that they think that I know what I'm doing when it's like my first esports event. I remember having a horrendous panic attack, like I sat in my car before I was supposed to go in, like crying, because I was so scared. With all these new people, I've never met any of these people, I spoke to them on Twitter, but I didn't know them. And then I went in, and then Joe was like, hi Ray, big hug. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then introduced me to all the boys backstage, who are now like my best friends. And they're just like, hi guys, how are you? How's Ray? How are you? And it's just like, oh my God. And then after that weekend, I had such a good time. Like, oh my God, like it didn't feel like work. And it never does with Epic.
It'd be really great if you could outline for us the responsibilities of a stage manager for those who might not know about the role.
For esports, it's time management is huge. Like, you have to keep the schedule going. A lot of running around trying to find people, because there's not like a nice little box where they wait for you. You have to go find them because they're having a good time and stuff like that. You need to find them. Good communication, so you can get across. I'm bad at it, but like, so you can get across what you're trying to say without stressing anyone out. Like, your main role, like I've noticed at Epic, is to be the middle ground. Whatever you de-stress everyone, you have to be the level-headed one. So being level-headed is definitely one of them. Like, you need to be that calm situation where you don't get stressed, you don't get panicked. You need to be like that person to calm everyone else down, because they're looking at you for like what's happening next. Initiative is a massive one. Like, if sound is really, really busy, and they don't realise there's 2 mics coming up, to go find the mics, make sure the batteries are in them, and then give them to the host. And then when sound goes, oh my god, I haven't done the microphones, they're already there. Like, being the safe person as well. So you have to always make sure the cables on stage are flat and no one's going to trip up, and you need to, you know, stuff like that, making sure there's no safety hazards. A lot of note taking as well. I have like 1 million notebooks on my laptop all the time, because you need to constantly edit and put requirements for certain things. I guess like the bare minimum would be to have a good knowledge of what you're talking about, I guess, like about games and stuff, like having a bare minimum knowledge that if there's not a mouse, it's going to need a mouse. Or if there's a game that needs Rocket League, make sure it's on Steam and it's ready and downloaded. So another thing with Initiative, but having a bare minimum of what requirements are needed for each segment. I think that's it. I can't really think. There probably is more, but I can't think off the top of my head.
So you've summarised quite nicely in your day-to-day sort of role how great the community is and what it's like to work as part of the team behind the scenes and events. What would you offer as advice to someone wanting to get into the same sort of role as you? We kind of touched on it earlier, but for this particular role, what advice would you give?
My advice would be to work for Epic. I've heard it through other people. But obviously when I first worked with them, I heard it from them themselves, because I messaged them on Twitter asking for a job. But it would be going to work for smaller events like Epic. As much as I want them to grow, of course I do. I love them to pieces, and I want them to be like as successful as Insomnia. But I like the fact it's a smaller event. It's like a better community. Like, you know everyone that's going because they come every time, and it's a smaller event. So it would be, for a good place to start, would be Epic. As much as they run to industry standard, they don't scrutinise you if you mess up. Like, if you mess up, there's someone on the comms going, it's fine, try again, it's fine. Like, it's happened so many times with me where I've panicked, and Hayden's down the comms going, Ray, breathe, you're fine. So it's a nice, can't speak for any other bigger events like EGX or DreamHack or anything like that, what if their team's like that. But with Epic, I can say for certain that they're very much like, we grow together. As much as they know so much and they are way above me in knowledge-wise in their fields, they're still understanding that you got to try to start somewhere. So Epic would be a great place to start. Smaller events before jumping into like Insomnia, even though they have voluntary programs, which I can't speak from experience if that's worth it, I don't know. But starting at Epic is like a little family. So it's like they want to see you grow. And as much, people always started at Epic. You speak to anyone on Twitter, like, how did you start? They'll be like, Epic. And it's like, you can see why. So yeah, smaller events.
Perfect. Okay. Do you feel like, how would you say that, in your opinion, you think we can encourage better diversity in esports and kind of reduce these sort of online stigma that many people have unfortunately faced?
I think what you guys are doing, honestly, has helped. Obviously, I wrote about it in my dissertation because I chose that question for my dissertation. Is there a lack of women in esports? Like, obviously, that's how big of a deal it is that I'm writing it for my diss. And obviously, seeing you guys' article really helped a lot for that question, because my original question was, why is there a lack? And then during my research into with you guys and other people in the industry, I changed it to, is there a lack, as a question mark, because there isn't a lack. They're just not promoted as much. I don't know. Like, you see the adverts for like gaming headsets, and there's like 4 boys, 1 girl, and it's just like, oh, you're just covering all the check boxes. Okay, it's probably doing what you guys are doing, but everywhere. Of like, this person very good at playing. She was playing COD or something, wasn't it? And she's great, but she shouldn't be in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Just like trying to be like, this is a player, not a female player. It's hard because you don't want to be like, there's women, look at us, we're here, because then it looks like they're not here, but they are. It's really it was really hard doing my dissertation on this, because it's really hard to word and try and express how to say it. I think it is just seeing people, like if someone wanted to do my job and then they saw me backstage with my headset and my blacks running around, because I'm backstage, you don't see me. You don't see that you can do that. Like, I didn't know I could do that, not as a female, but as a, I don't know how to explain it. But I guess as you don't see many of us, because we are backstage and we are behind cameras, we are in blacks, you never see us. That you see more of the men who are presenters or, whatever, that you just don't see us enough because we are backstage, but then there's no way to counter that because we're supposed to be backstage. It's hard. It's really hard to kind of like just more posts like yours of like, we are here, look how good we are, we are here, we're trying, we are part of you guys. Ugh, it's hard to explain.
No, that's great. It is a really hard question, and it's one that we're still trying to figure out the answer to. But it's been fantastic to talk to you. It's been really great to get insight into the life of a stage manager and how it's kind of interested you to pursue a longer career in esports. And yeah, is there any final advice you'd love to give any other women who are looking to get involved in esports in the future?
If it's something you want to do and it's something you've grown up with and you have a passion for, just, you know, try it. Like, just test the waters. Just see if, like, with Epic and stuff, just be like, can I do my first job? Just try, because I didn't try. I was too scared to do it. So it's just really push yourself out there. And there's communities like Epic who want to teach you and show you how it's done and help you. You just need to, like, find them, really, and get to know them.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Ray. And if you want to know more about our Women's Esports Initiative, have a look on our website, which is www.britishesports.org. Thank you for listening, and make sure to keep up to date with our content on our newsletter and on our social.